Hello, traders. Welcome. This is my weekly performance summary for the week ending today, September, I'm sorry, Saturday, November 1st, 2025. And I'm your host, Jason Allen at netwinningtrader.com. Wanted to say hello to new listeners. I had a bunch of new signups to podcast and my free information that I provide to aspiring traders this last week or so. And many of you might be listening for the first time. Just want to remind everybody that what I'm sharing here is my personal trading. I have daily experience in these markets. I take the exact same risk that you are taking every trading day. What I have for you at netwinningtrader.com are the underlying protocols to everything I do and to show you exactly how the money can be made. Obviously, everybody's going to have their own little unique style and interpretation, and that's fine. But what I want to do is basically give you the underlying meat and potatoes of what I do to show you that what I have for you to learn through the protocols at netwinningtrader.com vastly superior to what you're going to find out there on the web now or what you may have already been exposed to. If you're one of those traders that believe trading is all about finding that perfect way to analyze the markets, you're going to be really disappointed as time goes on because that's not how this works. Um, in fact, it's exactly the opposite. The markets themselves are actually incidental to making money in the markets. The real important issue is what's going on inside your head. Your personal psychology is more important than anything. So what I've done at netwinningtrader.com and what I show you in these broadcasts every week is what's going on in the marketplace from a standpoint of the personal psychology required to win. And the signals that I use are all boiled down from understanding personal psychology and how that plays out in the market, why markets reach overbought and oversold positions that have nothing to do with price. It has to do with how people are thinking. And the way they think is betrayed by certain kinds of price action, but you have to know what to look for. And of course, most people don't. So we're going to go ahead and get right to work and show you exactly how well I did this week from last Sunday night, the 26th, through Friday's close. So let's take a look at the numbers. And these are closed trades. It's important to remember, and I try to make this as clear as possible, that the only trades that matter are the closed trades. Open trades are nice and they're helpful to give you an idea about where to be positioned and how to be positioned. But closed trades in your account, they're the only thing that really matter because that shows exactly how your thoughts became your buys and sells, your initiation and your liquidation, and how your account balance is changing. That alone is what makes the difference. So I like to quote for you first closed trades. And we start with this today. Total long for the week, 3. Total short, or pardon me, total long for the week, 9. Total short for the week, 3. Total trades, 12. That's an average week. Lost 6 trades from the long side, 1 trade from the short side. Total loss pips, 258.9. And that's over 7 trades. Comes out to about 36 pips a piece. If we also then take a look at wins, we had 3 winning trades from the long side, 2 from the short side for 5 winners. Total pips 184.9, which from a standpoint of the actual numbers, it's I like to go with averages. You need to be a 2 to 1. In other words, whatever you make has to be twice what you lose on a trade basis. So the winning side was 36.9, and the losing side about 37. So no real edge this week, despite some nice opportunity. Now, let me go ahead and show you what we're holding. Also, net gain or loss for the week, 74. So no real edge this week. Where is, there we go, holding open trade. So pounds, we're holding for an open trade gain of 40. Long euro for an open trade gain of 10. Short yen for an open trade gain that's basically flat. And same thing for Canada. So what I'm holding for open trade gains is about 50 points. I lost 75. Net, I'm out about 25 points on the week from a standpoint of closed trades. What I've got running for open trades, which we're looking for more distance next week. And quite frankly, not a lot of opportunity I was able to get from my systemized approach this week because we are moving still very much in a sideways sort of thing. We didn't get much trend this week, with the exception of short-term trend. So it's going to look like we may have had some trend this week, but we didn't really have a lot of movement. For those of you who've been watching for a period of time, you've seen me have weeks where closed trades might be 500, 600 or more pips for the week, and or watching me hold open trade gains that are 1,000 pips or more. So for those of you that are just joining us, I don't want you to get too caught up in the little tiny excruciating minutia of what you're holding and what you're closing and the tiny little movements that are involved. That's partly because when you follow a set of rigid protocols like the netwinningtrader.com protocols, you need movement in the market to make those really sing. In this case, we're not getting that. What we are getting is whipsaw and bad beats right now. But that's every systemized approach goes through that when there's not a lot of movement in the underlying. So let's just look at them each trade as it is, and we'll go from there. Let me get my pen here. All right, over here, I want to show you this green line right here. This green line here at the top of your screen. That green line, this is where we came in from last week long. This was the stop, and as you can see, we didn't really get much movement. And this distance here, although it was an open trade gain, it wasn't even 50 points. So not a lot of room here. Market came down, stopped out, and then as you can see right here, we have a cluster of buying signals that are all in the same general area. Although the H's are coming lower and the X's are coming lower, that's just how they print it on the screen. If you look at the actual prices in the market, they're right about here. So we're long, right? Just slightly above there on the first signal. And then Fed cuts rates, markets panic, and here's what we get here. Big move to the downside, stopped out. And then again, waiting for the next one, stopped out. And this is just a bad beat right here. Stopped out near the low. And then on the same bar, or actually the next bar, after getting stopped out, the next bar was another signal. So now that's why we're holding long pounds into next week with a small lead. Now this right here is what 99% of chartists look for. They look for this kind of thing. They think this is downtrend, right? I can't show you this because I don't have this presentation set up to show you every time frame. But if you were to see the higher time frames for pounds, you would see that this movement here from 33 60 area at the high end for the week up here down to the bottom at 31, 240 pips or so. This is within a much larger sideways motion from 131 to about 135. Now here's what's going to happen next week in this pair, in my opinion, and this is why it'd be great for you to follow through for a couple more weeks. Is that I think what you're going to see in both pounds and euro, actually all the currencies, is that you're going to see a rotation the other way because nothing new has happened yet. The marketplace is fully aware of the fundamentals. Everybody knows that the Fed has cut rates and are going to keep cutting rates. But there's been no breakout, no enthusiasm, and no argument that says there's more room. And I think, personally, that that's more important because that shows basically that people aren't really willing to commit their capital. So you're going to see larger funds cover shorts if they're short pounds, or larger money is going to be buying into these dips because they know that the big picture hasn't changed yet and you're stuck in a range. That's my point of view. Now, of course, we'll see how that plays out. But I think being long from somewhere near this 31 area, that represents some really strong opportunity. And we may hold it for 2 or 3 weeks back to the highs around 35 if we get them. So I like pounds from a standpoint of near term support being right here. Our system may have gotten us long right at the bottom. It was trying to do that 3 or 4 times this week. So let's see how this plays out. This could be an interesting trade. Looking at euro, it's basically the same argument. Came in long. In this case, was able to roll a break-even stop from last week, and then that was stopped out of break-even on the news, and then again an attempt to get long a couple times during the week, until at the end we're long from the lows on a Friday. So it's a little bit more risky because going long on a Friday on the lows on a Friday, typically you get lower price action on Monday or Tuesday because you've got what, like I said, smarter money is looking at a longer term picture. Shorter money is looking at this as a trend. They're going to come in selling on Tokyo's open, I think. So it wouldn't surprise me if we got a little bit lower price action on Monday, but the idea there is to see that come back to the table and get bought. So if that's the case down in here, we get a little bit lower and extend the price action a little bit deeper on Sunday night, Monday morning. We want to see if that area around 115 is bought. We're looking for that to see, is that going to be something that becomes a buy point. If we look at yen, yen is now up at some pretty spectacular highs. These are fresh highs for the year. Now, let me ask you a question. If you were looking to purchase something, would you want to buy it at the highest price it's been at all year, or would you wait a little bit till it came down? You'd probably wait a little bit, wouldn't you? So even the bulls, which might be very excited about prices being at 154, would most likely want to see a pullback from here. The bears, of course, are thinking that this is it. This is the top. This is a place to get short. When are they going to step up? So between those two thought processes, that's how a market puts in a near-term top. A near-term top can become the top if what? Enough people change their mind. So even if you're bullish this market, you'd want to pull back before you bought it. So in my view, that's playing out right now. So let me just go ahead and dot some I's and cross some T's here so you can understand where we're at. Came in with the last long of the year, I think, maybe, on this pair right here. And if you remember from last Friday or last Saturday, what I said was the signal, it was looking like there was one more try higher. So the signal, I felt it was a good risk to take. So I took it, and we actually were stopped out when another buy signal came on. What I think is really interesting is that buy for the end of the week would have done well, would have made more than 100 points. Here was the entry point. You couldn't ask for a better buy point. Look at that. The system called the low for the week. You could have gotten long at the low. Here's an interesting thing, though. In the automation, this happened overnight, about 10 o'clock at night Eastern time, which is what trading time I'm on. And you can't trade 24 hours. So this is unavailable to me except for the automation. The automation, which runs on a different platform, calculated this entry point using the entry point or the calculation on the algorithm from the trading system, not the analysis system. What happens is occasionally there's disparities. The system will get long or short when there's no signal on the analysis package, which is what you're seeing here with all the colors on it. And then there are times when the analysis system has a signal operating and there's nothing from the actual execution platform because the algorithm runs slightly differently. So in this case, that's what happened here. We got a signal on one platform, but there was nothing on the other one. So the market didn't go long here. However, or my system didn't go long here. However, if this had happened during regular trading hours, I probably would have overridden the system anyway, because that's what I was looking for, was a buy point. Anyway, and you can see here's the trend line coming in from last week anyway, last 2 weeks right here, this trend line right here. So yeah, I would have been looking to be a buyer on that signal anyway, but it happened overnight, and it's one of those bad beats. When I talk about bad beats, what I mean is it's something that you should have had action on, and for whatever reason, you either stopped out or not in for reasons that have to do with the rules that you set. So it's a bad beat. It would have been great to have been long there, right? Wouldn't have made any difference, though. We would have been selling on the way higher anyway. So anyway, the short side we did take at one point on Sunday night. This H reversal here was also on the platform, and we got short here, and then rolled the stop down as the protocols require, and we were stopped out when the market price crossed back over the averages, which is not supposed to do when you're in trend. That's a real trend, not a fake trend. So we're out. That was a small gain for the week, but up here, 153.35 area, this one right here, this short, was a retest of the highs, and we had a failure at the high initially, and a signal came on higher time frames, actually 2 higher time frames. So that's why the signal was taken here, even though there's nothing on the 60-minute. The 120 and 240 both showed a sell signal here. Stop higher, nice little beat there, and then again we're holding short, same thing. Sell signal came on the higher time frames, nothing on the 60-minute. So oftentimes when the signals come on the higher time frames and not on the lower time frames, there were longer term time frame entries, suggesting that we might get 3 or 4 or 5 weeks or more of movement down south for whatever reason until the buyers come back. And that might be the correction that the bulls would want. I mean, if you're, like I said, even if you're a bull at the lifetime, at the annual highs, you want to pull back to buy it. A lot of times those traders are on larger time frames anyway, and a pullback that they would be interested in buying would look like a bear market to everybody else because their time frame is much longer. So we'll see how that plays out. Again, we're staying short into next week. Same basic story for Canada. Canada, though, I think some of the news this week was a little spooky for this particular market because they're talking about the tariff situation and maybe changing the tariff situation for the Canadians, maybe putting some exemptions in. That tends to rile the markets a little bit. In this case, we were looking to just take advantage of the signals. We came in long over here, and these sell signals that you see having on here, we didn't have anything active on this from above. In other words, when you see these sell signals that are not X's or H's, they're trend signals. And you really can't use them until you're under real trend and you have the opposite side on already. In other words, I would need to be short from higher up on a reversal signal before adding to the position using the trend signals. So although they were nicely accurate for short term, would have been a nice sell here, we don't use them that way. Now, if you wanted to buy the toolbox, this is called the Pro Traders Toolbox. That's what all this is here. If you wanted to buy the toolbox, you don't have to buy it. It comes with all these algorithms that you see on the screen here. I give you those when you buy a subscription to netwinningtrader.com. So in other words, you buy a lifetime membership to Netwinning Trader. It's a complete library of everything I do, or of everything I've done, and everything I will do goes in there eventually. So the algorithms for these reversal patterns and these trend patterns, those are published into the library. So if you own the library, you can use this system if you want it. And if you use it long enough, you'll see how accurate it is. But in any case, we weren't using them to enter the market initially. I use them to add to winners, just so you know. But you can certainly use them on a short time frame. In fact, if you put up, maybe we could do this one day if we have time. is you can put up a 5-minute or a 15-minute price chart if you're a day trader, and you can see how accurate these trend signals can be for taking small gains consistently. But that's another systemized approach we'll talk about later. Anyway, again, at the bottom for the week, nice reversal patterns here. This is beautiful stuff. So I went ahead and got long. Turns out would have been the perfect place, but again, this is the part about the markets that just amazes me sometimes. This support area right here goes back weeks and months, and it basically held. But the thing is, we tested it all the way to a breakout. This breakout right here, this was the head fake, false breakout to the downside. But there's where my stop was. See, I entered about right in terms of the signals coming on, and then getting positioned just at support resistance. My stop underneath support resistance. I mean, this is a textbook trade. Came down, took me out, and then rallied away. Would have been a nice money maker. And of course, we put the stops. The short side is now active for the same reason we talked about on yen, is that there's a higher time frame showing a sell signal at this price point, and the stop is out of range for the week. So outside of the support resistance area that should, in other words, this range that Canada has been trapped in for weeks now seems to be holding. I mean, there was a little head fake on Wednesday. Underneath it was bought, and then the head fake on Friday was sold. I don't know what this is. This is some kind of mystic or something. I have no idea what that is. But here's where we ended the week, just barely above our entry. So I'm looking at this as being a really good, reasonable sell signal. But again, it's Canada. It's got a little volatility in it today, and we'll have to wait and see. But all things considered, you know, it's just a wait and see game sometimes. This is just one of those times. Head fake on both sides of support and resistance, and just no way to know whether or not each side's going to work or not. And that's it for the week, guys. So that's in the history books. So thanks for coming. I got a couple of things to share with you before we leave. Again, if you're seriously interested in learning better tool use and you want some better tools as a trader, I've got them for you. And I think you'll like what you see at NetWinning Trader. Just go to www.netwinningtrader.com. Also, don't forget to sign up for my free daily podcast, which is the Trader's Daily Discipline. You can sign up at the link that's on the notes on the website there below, if it's there, depending on where you're viewing this. If not, just go to netwinningtrader.com, or you can email me at support@netwinningtrader.com, and we'll take care of getting you the links if you need them. Also, I'm going to be speaking at Timing Research on Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. Here's the link. You just hit pause, and you can get the link right here to sign up. And they'll send you a private Zoom link for the call, and hopefully you'll get a chance to attend. What I'm doing here, actually, what David Kosminer is the guy that I work with. I've been working with him for decades. He's starting on the 4th. So the Tuesday the 4th, Wednesday the 5th, and Thursday the 6th, he has a couple dozen really high quality people talking about their methodologies and their point of view on the markets. And it's going to get a really good turnout. It would be great if you went, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm the most hated guy in this industry when I do this, but David loves it when I come on because I provide an opposite point of view. In my point of view, this is me now. 90% of what you're going to see at these kind of things, whether it's Timing Research, they have all these great guys on their top of their field, or any other broadcast that you can see, most of it doesn't work. It won't provide you with a real permanent winning edge. There's a lot of reasons for that. and I'm going to talk about them. So when I'm on the air at 1 o'clock on Thursday the 6th, I'm going to be talking about the fallacy of technical analysis and the illusion of risk reduction. I'm going to show people how you can't reduce the risk in trading no matter how much studying you do. And I'm going to show you that all of the study and research that you do anyway really is pointless. It's not going to help you win. A lot of times the people who listen to me, the customers and students and traders, I mean, find what I have to say really eye-opening and can really radically alter what you do when you trade and the way you look at this. The other side of the coin is that a lot of the guys who show up and do their presentations get really upset with me because basically I throw cold water on all their hard work. And I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. And they don't like it. But I think you'll find what I have for you to be really enlightening. So why don't you come and listen? 1 o'clock on Thursday the 6th. Here's the link to sign up. And you'll get an invitation emailed to you right away. I'll be sending stuff out to my database too. So don't worry, you won't miss it. You'll get a chance to come if you want. And again, my presentation is going to be on the fallacy of technical analysis and the illusion of risk reduction. So I think you'll like that. Okay, guys, that's it for today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming. Hope you have a fabulous rest of the weekend. And I'll see you on Monday, the 3rd, early in the morning for my Monday Traders Daily Discipline, my Monday podcast. So I'll see you then. In between now and then, here's a little thought from our sponsor, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.